Hey everyone, today we're going to do a video on making homemade magazine override stops for your Stenag style AR magazines. This is a problem that I see come up every once in a while and people bring it up and things like that. It's a very easy thing to do with a little bit of 100-mile-an-hour tape, okay? First and foremost, with your magazine release, the bar on this side and your button on this side, and again, there's ambi systems out there and stuff, but if you need to loosen it because it's too tight, if you need to loosen it, you're going to depress that really hard to get this bar out and then rotate it out. Do one rotation at a time to get an adjustment to loosen it just a little bit, because you can make it too tight. You can also make it too loose, okay? And there is a spring in there. Okay, if you've never done a mag catch and release installation, which I did on this one, this is a Frankenstein to lower with a bunch of different parts. So you have to push that in to really get that bar past these nubs here. Sorry, I'm out of focus there. Past these nubs here on the receiver to get it out, to rotate it, to loosen it or tighten it or take it off or whatever you're going to do, okay? So first and foremost, check that. Make sure it's not too loose but not too tight, okay? This one is a little tight, but I don't use this lower all that much. It's a backup lower, so, you know, it just is what it is. You just work that spring a little bit and you can get it loosened up. But a problem that people are having, so that is proper seating of a magazine. So I'm going to push this and put it past magazine override. Okay, so it goes too far up and you're going to have trouble feeding rounds, okay, because your magazine's inserted too far. Gen 2 PMags, Gen 1 PMags, like, they all have the same problem. Gen 3s have the override stop. Some of these kinds of magazines have a bit of an override stop, some do not. Okay, so that is inserted too far. What you have to do, kind of in the process of standard loading and magazine insertion, you have to give it a light tug. You hear that clicking and it seats it in place. But if your mag catch release is too loose, sometimes too tight, but generally too loose, it can override and you're not going to get your bolt to go forward. So then you have to do that to get it to lock back. So what you can do to prevent bolt override, no matter what, magazine's already in and seated properly, okay? 100-mile-an-hour tape. This is the Nashua brand 100-mile-an-hour tape. This is stuff we use in the military. You can order it from a number of sites, Ranger Joe's, you name it, okay? You just get a length about that, maybe about maybe about a foot long, whatever. So you see, because again, this stuff is very sticky. Magazine is seated properly, okay? So what you're going to do, you're just going to line it up. You're just going to line up on your magazine and put that tape on there, okay? You see this okay? Let's do it a couple of times, okay? It's not gonna, it's thin enough, it's not gonna affect how many mags you can fit in your mag pouches or whatever, okay? But now, the stopper, it's a bit of a stopper. It's gonna help prevent that override, okay? It really does help. You can put one or two pieces on there like that, and just kind of wrap it around a couple of times, and boom. You've got your stopper mark, okay? You can do it to all these magazines. Let's see if this one overrides. This one does not override as much. It still does a little bit, so we're going to put tape on it. Okay? Again. Let's see. Some of these are BCM Stenag style magazines. Some of these are Duramags, C Products Duramags. I might still have one or two USGI mags in here too, just because I've got them. Okay, get it stuck on there good. on there good. And there you go. Okay? Instant magazine override prevention just with adding some tape. Okay? We're going to do one more. Okay? Let's see if this one overrides. Okay, it's locked in place perfectly. It does override. I can override just a smidge. Give it that little tug, get it set back in. We're going to do the same thing one more time. I've got my camera on my tripod this time, so hopefully I'm not screwing up the view too bad. I'm kind of looking at it as I go, but again, it's seated. Boom. And you just wrap it around. Get relatively tight. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't matter. Boom. There you go. Now it will not override, okay? But when you're doing proper magazine insertion with loading, again, I've done a video on that, whether you do it this way and you're kind of flipping and inserting, or you're coming this way, bullet tip facing left, coming in and inserting like that, you know, guiding with your finger, it's in, okay? That way it's just a little bit quicker, it's a little bit easier. I've done a video on that too, but again, doesn't matter. So that's the video here. If you're having issues with magazine override, first off, check your magazine catch and release. Make sure it's not too loose. Make sure it's not overly tight too. I like it on a little more on the snug side, just so I have that positive insertion, okay? And you feel that, okay? Again, comes down to training as well, okay? You're coming in, bringing it into your workspace, and again, the way I draw, okay? It's just that simple, all right? So, hopefully that makes sense to people. It's something that's relatively easy and quick to do with what you have on hand, and it will help prevent some issues for yourself. This is an old school thing. I mean, we did this back in the early GWAT, and it was done for a good amount of time before then, when the use was still relatively new still for your M16, M4 AR style platform rifles. So that's just a quick fix for it, and it helps. Just that little bit of tape helps create a stopper so you don't over insert in your magazine well and create a jam or a stoppage for yourself, okay? It's just one of those things. Again, easy to do, proactive measure. So what you do, just get her inserted, make sure she's seated properly, and then you just get that tape line on there, okay? It's nothing crazy, okay? And it's easy to do, and it is going to help you because there's now a little bit more mass than what's comfortably going to ride into the magazine well. So it's just going to kind of stop it right there. Again, if I try and over insert, it can still a little bit, because again, this is kind of a homemade thing in tape, but you're going to much quicker realize that, okay? But again, my mag stop is set good, so I don't really have that issue even with Stenag mags, but I'm going to do it anyway. Proactive measures, right? So it's a quick and easy thing to do, and it is something that's going to help you in preventing magazine override. Again, first, check your magazine catch and release internals, okay? And then after that, do that with your magazines. Your Stenag magazines, your Gen 2P mags, whatever other mags don't have an insertion override design built into them, okay? So, just one of those things. Hopefully this helped people. Hopefully I didn't fuck up the camera view too much. But that's what it is, okay? Easy to do. Something to help yourself in your preventative, in your prevention of causing issues and making things harder for yourself. So firstly, check your internals. Secondly, start doing that with your magazines once you have a proper insertion and seat, and then you can tape set your magazines with some tape to create your own magazine override stopper. You can add a couple extra pieces on the back too to help, okay? Just whatever. But that's it. All right, pretty simple. All you need is some tape. That'll be the video for today. Metal up. Out.